Welcome to Millennium Computer's online 5-minute tutorials. Today what I'd like to cover is the functionality on any of the new data entry pages within the FAST applications. Now what I'm going to do today is cover not necessarily the process involved in the various applications, but just strictly cover the new functionality and how to use these data entry pages in any of the FAST applications. To start off, we're going to select a data entry grid page. Here's an example from the budget and forecasting module, and it's a typical budget transfer. Now keep in mind, I'm not going to cover the specifics of the budget transfer process. What I'd like to do instead is show you the features and functionality of the new data entry page. At the bottom of the page, you'll see this notation that says this is a data entry page. Click on a cell to start editing. That tells you you're looking at one of the new data entry pages. The page looks to be blank at first glance. What I'm going to do to get started with the data entry process is to click the plus new button. By clicking the button, the first row opens up and you'll see right away my cursor is in the first field, and all the highlighted pink blocks that you see represent mandatory fields. These are fields that must be completed for the data entry process to be complete. Now, for those of you who are used to working within FAST applications, you're going to notice the small magnifying glass. This is going to be found in every cell that has a searchable field. Throughout FAST applications, you can use the magnifying glass to drill down and find options that you can choose from. This is no different. So if I choose the magnifying glass on this field, I'm going to see a list of options. From there, I can select it with my mouse, or I can use my arrow keys and make the selection with my keyboard. Once you've made any selection, use your tab key to navigate from cell to cell. Now, another option for searching within the field is to use keyboard shortcuts instead of using your mouse. The way to do this is to start typing the letter or number of the field that you're looking for. If I enter the number 2 and hit my enter key, I'm going to get a list of options that start with the number 2. Or if I'm using a letter field, I can actually begin to type the words of the item I'm looking for. From there, I can simply scroll through the options and find the one I'd like to use. Again, I can select it with my mouse or using the directional keys on my keyboard. Let's try that one more time. I can use the search button by selecting the magnifying glass to find the options available, or I can begin typing the numbers or letters into the field and hit my enter key. Once I find the item I'd like, I select it with my mouse or arrow keys. Now, of course, if I know the data I'd like to input, I can go ahead and type it directly into the field. Now, I want you to get used to using the tab key to navigate from cell to cell. You want to think of this once the spreadsheet opens as a very interactive Excel spreadsheet. The functionality and directional movement within the cells is very similar to what you would find in Excel. An example is to move forward between the cells, click your tab key. To move backwards to the previous cells, hold down your shift tab key, and this will move you backwards. This allows you to do everything from your keyboard if you prefer working with keyboard shortcuts. It also really takes on the look and feel of a typical spreadsheet, as opposed to strictly being a data entry page. Now, I can move along and enter additional fields. Again, let's do a search with letters this time. Find the item you'd like and make your selection. Using fields with drop-down options, you can use your arrow keys to scroll through the options and select enter once you've found the option you'd like to use. Now, if you've made a mistake and you want to undo something you've just done, Not a problem. Couple options. You can certainly click from cell to cell using your mouse, but an easier way, you can click this Undo Edit button. By clicking the Undo Edit button once, it will undo the last thing that you've done. Click it again, it'll undo the next last thing. In fact, I can keep clicking this button to undo everything I've done up into the beginning of this transaction or up into the last point of save. I've not saved this particular entry yet, so right now I could actually use the undo button to delete everything. If I've deleted too much, just click the redo edit button. It's going to add back in those fields in the order in which I had put them in the first place. From here, you notice there's a small save icon on the last line in the page. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and save my work now, and that would save this particular line entry. But if I click Tab, it's going to bring me right down to the next line and open a blank row to work in. Here I can continue the work. Now the next stage is going to be to save my work. You have the option to save the line item, or if you've made a few line items, you can actually go up to your toolbar and save your changes. You'll notice now the row header has populated the row line items. Again, think of this in terms of a highly functional Excel spreadsheet. Let me show you a few tricks now in terms of how you can use the new toolbar to make changes to your existing data entry grid. If I click row number 3, it will highlight the entire row in light blue. You'll notice now my toolbar is enabled. There's a few things I can do with these line items. With this particular row highlighted, I can use the copy function and make an exact copy of this row. Now let's suppose I want to use this row but make just a few changes. I can change them by navigating from cell to cell using my Tab key or using the mouse. Once I've made the changes I'd like, click the Save button, and the row has been saved. Similarly, if I select the number under the row header and highlight the row again, I can delete the row. This doesn't delete the entire spreadsheet, it's just going to delete the row that I've added. Let's do that again. Highlight the row number that you'd like. You can copy it, producing an exact copy, or highlight it again and delete it. Save your changes, and now you're ready to start over. I can click my plus new button to start a new line item. From here, remember, I can use my Tab key to navigate from cell to cell, my Shift tab to move in the reverse direction, or I can use my mouse to select any field that I'd like to make changes to. All right, I want to give one more example, and this is going to be on a data entry page where there's a substantial amount of data. Now we've seen instances of copying rows and of deleting rows. I just want to show you that if you have a substantial amount of work done on a particular data entry grid, you do still have the flexibility and option to go back to an earlier line item and make modifications or delete the row. Let me give you an example. If I've completed these 9 rows on my data entry page and I've saved my work, so at this point my row column is illustrating that I have 9 completed and saved rows, I could go back up to my 3rd line, for instance, highlight that row, and again, if by clicking on that row header number, I'm going to highlight the entire row, I can go ahead and delete it from this point on. So I can actually delete, copy, or modify any row in my worksheet at any time in the process. Similarly, at this point, if I've made changes but want to in fact go back and change an entry in an earlier stage of my spreadsheet, I can do that just by clicking in any cell to begin the updates and edits. So if I want to change this particular field, I can delete the entry that's there, begin typing in the text, and make my new selection. When you make any changes, you can tab through the fields if you want to make further adjustments, or if you're happy with what you've done, just go ahead and click Save. Saving your work on the main toolbar will actually save all the changes, edits, and modifications you've made since the last point of saving. From this point on, if you want to create a new line item, simply hit the plus new button. And if you're done with this worksheet, you can go ahead and leave the page. Once you've saved your work, it'll be there the next time you log in. Hope this is helpful, and we'll see you next time.